And hello, Grad Stars. It's nice to see you all here today. Thank you for joining us at the Unilever Gradstar Finance Masterclass. I see many familiar names in the chat and also many new ones. So thank you for joining us again and giving us your time on the Friday afternoon. A little bit about Gradstar. As you may probably know, over the past 7 years, Gradstar has recognized and assisted with the employment of thousands of students just like yourselves. And we're here today with one of our top employers and our top partners to provide this forum for you to take the opportunity to ask and act on your futures. As many of you, I'm sure all of you are aware, if you've done your research properly, Unilever are an important partner to the Gradstar program. They're a major employer of your Gradstar students. And today they're here looking for you. A little bit about the world, like we know it hasn't come right as we all expected it to a couple of years ago. And we know you all had a super rough year last year. Uncertain academic years, who knows what's going on in, out, on campus, off campus. What a nightmare. But we're here to tell you today that you've got this. We believe in you and the employers are still here waiting for you. So today, Unilever have lined up some of their top talent and senior leaders to share with you the benefits of a career in finance. These discussions will be facilitated by the amazing Namkla, who is Talent and Organisation Manager at Unilever. I suggest you remember her name, and I'll hand over to her shortly. But remember, these amazing leaders are here to share their knowledge with you and to help you build your future. So ask, take the chance, learn, fill the chat, introduce yourselves in the chat. And then before I hand over, I will come back on at the very, very end and ask as many of your questions as you can. So we are watching the chat. Ask questions, be noticed. Believe me, these representatives are here today looking to be impressed. So as I mentioned, the chat log will be shared with Unilever after the event. So take this opportunity. It's all about who shows up. So take your chances and show up, guys. Everyone, please feel free to post about your experiences and learnings on our social media. Unilever, we've shown you, hashtag Gradstar 2022. And just a couple of admins. In order to be considered to look to work for Unilever, please make sure you register on their Level Up platform, which Namkla will tell you more about during the course of the session. But also download the Gradstar app, enter the DHR Gradstar Awards. Closes the end of May. It's all, as I mentioned, take your chances where they are, and they're sitting here waiting for you. So that's me. I'm finished. I'm looking forward to learning too. Namkla, I'm going to hand over to you. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laura. It's such an awesome opportunity that we have to be on the Gradstar platform. I'm really excited to be here, really excited, not just me, but me and the entire Unilever team. As Laura said, I am the Talent and Organization Manager at Unilever. We have very, very long titles at Unilever, but it generally just means that I manage talent. So manage talent inside to try and accelerate them, and then also manage talent, like the best talent that we want to get into Unilever. We've got awesome opportunities like the Unilever Future Leader Program, which is our graduate program. And we also have opportunities in ULIP, which is our internship program. We'll share a little bit more about that, and we'll put all of the information for applications and all of those things on the chat. But I'm particularly passionate about youth and youth employability. And so I'm going to... Sorry, Laura, please go back. Tanya, please go back to the slide. I'm just going to take us through what Unilever is about. We'll be looking at having discussions and experiences from our Unilever leaders. We've got 3 of them available today, so very, very privileged of us. And then we'll open up the platform for a lot of your questions and a lot of your answers. But following up next, we have an icebreaker, quick one, that my colleague Lelapa will be taking us through. Lelapa, over to you.
Thank you very much, Namkla. Welcome to all the students. I'm sure you're going to have a very informative session today. Before we begin, I'd like us to get to know each other. So please join me on Mentimeter using the code www.mentimeter.com, and you can use the code 46867055. Let's get to know each other and let's engage a bit. I have a few questions for you. I'll just give you a few minutes to join there. So Unilever is home to over 400 brands, which billions of people make use of on a daily basis. So working in finance at Unilever, you'll be advising on brand development, pricing strategies, investment decisions on some of our major brands. Now, the question I have for you is, how many of these brands do you actually know and do you make use of? So if you're on Mentimeter, you can just uh, pop the answers right there. Some of the Unilever brands you are familiar with. Don't be shy. Mentimeter.com and use the code 46. Okay, we have one there. Mishka Shanae. Okay, X, that's one of our brands. There's Sunlight over there. Omo, that is right. Vaseline, Handy Andy. We have over 400 brands, guys, and we just have 9 right now. Okay, the numbers are increasing. Comfort is our brands. Ponds, great, wow. Let's just get a few more in. Lipton is one of our brands. Okay, great. So you guys have an idea of the brands we have. Let's go to the next question. So this one is for us to get to know you. So the question I have for you guys is, have you considered a career in finance at Unilever? So option 1 is yes, that is my dream career. Or no, you'd like to find out more, that's why you're here. Or you don't know, you didn't know that we do offer finance as a career option. Yeah, we're not just a marketing and sales company, but we offer various positions from finance, supply chain, HR, marketing, research and development, and of course, the reason you hear finance. Okay, this is positive. 18 of you want a career at Unilever. And today, you're going to find out about all the opportunities we have for you to join us and be a catalyst, ignite your purpose, and go beyond. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to hand over to Namhla, who is going to tell you more about Unilever. So we have 12 people who didn't know that we offer finance as a career. Hopefully, after today's session, you'll get to join the others. Thank you very much, guys. Over to you, Nam.
Thank you, Lalapa. Guys, that is so positive. I think on the last numbers that I saw about 20 people that would really be excited to join Unilever. So let's find out a little bit more about
every year does good. Every lick, every smile, every squeeze, every style, every bubble, every rub, every pour, every scrub. Ooh, shiny. Every year does good. Every year does good. Every spin, every spray, everybody, every day. Every Dove teaches girls self-esteem. Every Domestos provides safer toilets in schools. Every No supports sustainable farming. Every year does good. Unilever.
Thank you so much. So you guys have identified some of the brands that we have. There were very few brands that actually are not in our stable. So well done to you guys. I think I saw one saying Solero. which is part of our Ola brand, but it is a Salero. So I wanted to say well done to you guys. It's very nice to know that we actually are talking to a group of graduates or students that actually know a little bit about Unilever, but I will still be sharing a little bit more about us. So we're one of the largest consumer good companies, and we actually are driven by purpose. Unilever, you'll hear a lot about purpose. We really believe in meaningful work and in meaningful jobs and in actually contributing to making the world a better place to live in and to making it a sustainable living and commonplace. We also believe that when you are a responsible employer and making sustainable business choices, you actually are building a stronger and better business. Next slide, please, Tanya. So at Unilever, we truly are a global organization. We have over 2.5 billion people that actually use our products every day across the globe. We are in over 190 countries, and in a few of them, we've been there for more than 100 years. Just to mention, I think the three that I know very well is India, Indonesia, and Argentina. And these are also our developing markets. We actually have a big focus and investment in those because they bring about 58% of our turnover. We obviously, our performance organization focus a lot on growth. And as of 2020, our turnover was 151 billion euros. And we've got a big network in terms of suppliers, or what we call our customers or outlets, where you can find our products in over 25 million distribution centers or stores. And we are one of the biggest global advertising organization, and we're currently at second place. Next slide, please. We make many awesome brands. We are a brand powerhouse, but over and above, you might be familiar with these brands, but over and above being a brand powerhouse, we seemingly are only known to be a marketing organization or a sales organization. But we've got many other awesome functions that you can be part of, such as engineering and R&D and HR that I'm part of. But today we're here to put the spotlight on specifically our finance organization, and wanting to make you understand how you can also impact our brands and have these brands to learn from and build and develop in your space in finance. So I don't know what your favorite brands are. We'll be engaging a little bit later. I will actually ask the panelists. But whenever I look at this one, there's some brands I know and there's some brands I've never got to experience. My latest brand that I got to taste was an ice cream at Ben & Jerry's when I was on a short stint in Kenya in East Africa 6 months ago, about 6-7 months ago. It's an awesome ice cream that I can't wait till it lands in South Africa. But from one of my South Africa brands, I love Omo. I worked at the factory that produces Omo. So it's very, very close to my heart. And I grew up with my mom always using Omo. But now my personal favorite brand is Dove, ever since I started working at Unilever all of 11 years ago. I can't imagine if I was to see Dove out of stock. But I also love the message in building girl self-esteem. So while I'm there, I will actually start to introduce the panelists that we have from our finance leadership team in South Africa. Next slide, please. So we have three esteemed colleagues of mine. The first one is Rory Sang, who's our current customer and sales development, we use all of these words, financial director. She actually holds a CASA qualification and is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. She's been in finance in various industries for over 13 years and has 8 of those years at an executive level. She started Unilever, so very proud to have her here as a trainee accountant all the way back, not to expose ages, but in 2009, and is currently now in a financial director role and has been occupying this role for the last 18 months. So welcome, Rory Sang.
Thank you, Namsa.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. We have Brett Clark, who is currently our Africa Finance and Performance Director. I think I wrote there Southern Africa, but he's actually in a bigger role. He currently holds a BCom honors degree and is also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. Big words. And he's been in the financial industry for more than 24 years, which is incredible. And 15 of those years, he's been in directorship roles. Not just in South Africa, in the UK, in Switzerland, and also in South Africa. He also started his career 25 years ago in Unilever, and he was a category accountant at the time. And he's currently been in this role of performance director for Unilever for the past 4 years. So welcome, Brett. And then our last but not least panelist is Zane Leviella. She is our finance and uni ops HR business partner. She holds a BTech and post-grad diploma in HR. She has been in the field of HR for more than 13 years and worked in various industries. She first joined Unilever in 2014, where she joined as an HR specialist. And for the past 3 years, she's been in the HR business partnering space at Unilever, and has currently been in this role of partnering the most coolest function at Unilever, which is finance, for the last 8 months. So welcome, Zanele. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
for your time.
Nanfa, and welcome everyone.
Awesome. So I'm going to be asking us a series of questions. I'll try and not make them too difficult. But our first question is, can you please tell us a little bit about what your role means in a nutshell, and what is your favorite Unilever brand and why? I'll start with Rory-san.
I thought we were going to start with the veterans first, but happy to go first. Thank you for that question, Amhla. My favorite brand, let me start there, is Magnum, because Ola brings joy. That is the purpose of the whole brand, and I think we've created such a wonderful product that is able to just resonate with a lot of South African and really global consumers. So I enjoy Magnum. The grads will be interested to know that we've got Ola fridges in the office. And so I've just walked across and grabbed an ice cream for myself. So yeah, we're just a really fun business. But to get back to your question, Amhla, my role as a Customer Development Finance Director looking after Southern Africa is really to make sure that the products that you see on shelf, the Unilever products that you see on shelf, have landed there through a well-executed strategy, and ultimately then creates benefit, long-term benefit and value, not only for Unilever and its shareholders, but also for our customers and our consumers. We pride ourselves in doing that, in making sure that we are partnering with yourselves as consumers as well as customers where you go and buy these products, so that we make sure that end to end in the Unilever value chain, we are creating value. We're creating jobs in the economy. We are creating opportunities for employment and growth. So that is really my role. My biggest internal customer is the customer development team. I work across South Africa as well as outside of South Africa in BLNS countries as well as other SADC countries.
Awesome.
Yes,
Thank you so much, Rory-san. I'll go next to Zanele. I'm leaving the veteran for last.
My favorite, welcome everyone again. My favorite brand is Dove as well.
So my question to
Dove,
you is, tell us a little bit about your role in a nutshell. What does it mean? And what's your favorite Unilever brand?
It's a brand with purpose, which is
why?
focusing on girls' self-esteem. I have a little girl, so I always encourage her to love herself. That's why I love Dove.
Awesome. And what does a finance business partner in HR do?
Basically, as an HR business partner, my biggest agenda is to drive our talent and also making sure that we have a good culture as a graduate. If you're coming in Unilever, that's one thing that we want to make sure that you have good experience and you also enjoy the culture of Unilever. And obviously we focus on career development. That's the role of HR.
Thank you so much, Zanele. Brett, please tell us a little bit about your role and in a nutshell what it covers to be an Africa Performance Finance Director.
Yeah, cool. So it's a strange title, I guess, but it's quite a good fun role. And basically what that means is I partner with the Executive Vice President for Africa. So that's the person who heads up Africa, as well as the Vice President of Finance for South Africa. The key part of my job is strategy formulation, as well as aligning our strategy to what the global strategy is. I then use that strategy, or once we've aligned on that strategy, we set targets or KPIs for all the different countries, as well as the divisions in each countries. We monitor how those countries and those divisions are performing, and then we do performance intervention if necessary. So that's pretty much what a performance director does. I look after the whole of Africa. Our biggest business is in Southern Africa, so that's about 2/3 of our Africa business. But we also have operations in West Africa and in East Africa. My favorite brand, I'm also going to go to an Ola brand. So the ice creams one obviously will be everyone's favorite. My favorite brand is a Cornetto. I often find that that's just something nice and sweet to have, especially in an afternoon when you're feeling a little bit tired or need a bit of energy. Cornetto with all the nuts and delicious parts of it is a great one to have. Yes, to all the grads out there, I don't think it's always free ice cream. We have Ice Cream Friday usually. So if you're in the office on a Friday, that's when you get your free ice cream.
Awesome. Thank you, Brett. Thank you so much. In Johannesburg, we have ice cream open every day. But in our bigger office, which is Durban, I think you guys only open it on Fridays.
Okay, I'm going to move to the Joburg office then if I can get ice cream every day.
Yes, hence Rory Sang is already enjoying hers. We've got ice cream hour from 2 till 3. While I still have you on the mic, you're in a very senior role. Please, can you tell us a little bit about your career journey very quickly and what got you to this point?
Is that question for me?
That question's for you, yes.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, thanks. So I actually joined under the Future Leaders program, and I know you guys are all thinking it is veteran. It is nearly 25 years that I've been in the business. But maybe when you hear the journey that I've had, you realize why I've stayed, because it's certainly been exciting. I don't think I've been in a job for more than 3 years ever. So I've done so many different roles. It's kept exciting. And I've also had the opportunity to travel and experience different countries around the world. So I started as what we used to call a category accountants. And I think back in the day, we called it a commercial officer. So at least our names have improved. But what that job really entails is supporting our brand team. So business partnering our brands. That's performance management of the brand. So obviously I started as a junior doing that. So I wouldn't say I was partnering much. I was just doing a lot of Excel spreadsheets and trying to share numbers. So that's where I started. I then moved across to the factory where I worked in supply chain finance as the factory finance manager. And that was at our Pietermaritzburg factory where we made tea and soup. I did that for a couple of years. And then I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to work in our mergers and acquisitions team. We bought a business we bought Knorr. So Knorr, you'll know all the Knorr and Norix as part of the products. When we bought that business, we had a big business that was in Israel, and we needed to integrate them into Unilever. So I was fortunate enough to spend 6 months there and doing that role, helping integrate the business there. So that was super exciting. I actually then took a bit of a career break for a year. I always wanted to travel, and I'd actually when I finished university, I had a job lined up in the US at a ski resort. I was the lift operator. So I'd have probably pushed stop and go on the lift operator. That was the job I had, and I turned it down to join Unilever. So I always said I'd do that traveling before I got too old, and I'd spent a year actually traveling up and down the Pacific coast. So from South America all the way up to North America and then across to Hawaii. One of my passions is surfing, so I got the opportunity to do that in that year's break. I then rejoined Unilever actually in London as part of corporate audit and risk management. I'll explain a little bit more about that maybe later if I get a chance. just not to take up too much time, but another fantastic opportunity with lots of travel. And then came back home where I was supply chain finance director. I did that for a number of years, and then I did the role that Rory's doing now. I then was fortunate enough to be able to go to Switzerland, where I worked in as procurement finance. So looking after all the materials that we buy and the finances around the materials that we buy in Switzerland. And then I've come home to do this role. So yeah, so it's been an interesting journey. So you might wonder how is it possible in this day and age for someone got bored yet? And when that day comes, then I'll certainly look outside, but so far it hasn't come yet. So thanks for that question.
Thank you so much, Brett. I love the journey from coming in as a graduate with very little experience and how you would have brought all of your experiences into this current role, and the fact that you've had so many awesome opportunities in various functions, various roles, and in different geographies. But you came back to South Africa and you are really, really focusing on driving our performance. And then Rory, if you can also just share your quick summary of your career journey from the time you would have started as a graduate.
Thank you, Namhla. So as you introduced me earlier on, I actually was one of two of the final intake on the SAICA Unilever training program. I started my articles with Unilever, so I always proudly say I'm a Unilever baby through and through. I came from the classroom straight into Unilever to serve my articles, having wonderful work experiences, which I'll talk about later. I think somebody in the comments I saw was talking about how Unilever is just pro-SEMA in this country. You're absolutely spot on. I think that was Chirag who made that comment, because Unilever, in fact, was one of the early pioneers of the SEMA qualification in South Africa. And for me, I was really supported throughout my career, and at the back end of my articles, I actually got the opportunity again through Unilever to study for my SEMA qualification, which is why I hold that dual qualification of CA, SA, and SEMA qualified. I then moved across various functions in Unilever. That again is the beauty of Unilever as a business, and particularly in finance. You hardly have somebody in a role for too long, which is really something that is different from other businesses as well. So I moved across various functions, from internal audit to category finance, financial reporting, even the factory. Partnering with some of the people who make our washing powder at the time is the role that I held. Since that time, I actually moved out of Unilever into largely various other FMCG businesses, mostly in Southern Africa, and have held various roles in finance, leading finance teams, delivering on strategy, delivering on change initiatives as well, being a talent catalyst, and I've also had the opportunity to sit on boards as well. Unlike Brett, I actually came back. I call myself a return soldier as well, because I'll tell you one thing about Unilever: if you do leave Unilever, you will come back. Because it is really such a wonderful business. I did come back to Unilever to this position of CD Finance Director, and have been having the best of fun ever since. That's a little bit about my career journey, Namhla.
Thank you so much, Rory Sang. Really appreciate that. I really know Unilever opportunities are always exciting, and even for some of us, including myself, who had left, I just call it a short stint. You always want to come back. Unilever is home. So it's just so amazing to see someone that would have started all the way down from being a trainee, such as myself, and in such senior positions. My next question is going to go to Brett. Thank you, because we're hearing so much about all the awesome opportunities. Thank you to everyone that's on the chat. Let's continue, please, asking questions there. We will afford you time and answer those questions towards the end. Unilever is amazing, and we've been talking about our growth, but I'm sure, like any other organization, we've had tough times. How do we deal with those? Or can you tell us about a time where we actually were facing quite a bit of difficulty and what we did in order to solve?
Yes, indeed. That's a good question. And I think, not many days go by when you don't have to solve some problem or another. But I think one of the biggest problems we had was we did an SAP ERP upgrade. And for those of that you are not aware, basically your SAP system runs pretty much everything in your company. So from the order taking to the sales you make, the cash you collect, to running your factories, your logistics of distribution, pretty much everything is run off SAP. And without that working, you can have a bit of a problem. Now, what we did in I'm going back quite some years now, in 2008, was we had developed our own internal system for South Africa, and we then went onto our global platform. And the expectation was that it would be kind of a plug and play system. And basically, we did not do, we weren't thorough in our user acceptance testing. We didn't do a lot of checks to see that the system worked adequately for our unique different challenges. And when we switched it on the 1st of January, pretty much we realized because we could barely invoice our customers, which means we couldn't make sales. We couldn't send the customers a statement, so we couldn't get money from the customers. We were struggling with pretty much all our sales and distribution leg of that SAP module. I think what we had to do to fix the situation was actually we set up a pretty much what we called a war room, because it was such a challenge that we pulled pretty much everyone in finance out of their day job. So we forgot about doing any kind of business partnering strategy, anything like that. All we did was sit from pretty much morning till midnight. And I'm not joking. In those days, we didn't have laptops to take home or anything like that. So we sat and worked at the office. But pretty much we went through every single element and solved one problem at a time. But I mean, obviously, first thing was to prioritize all the problems and then focus on the biggest ones first and the ones with the biggest impact, and then work through those. And I think the big learning from that was never underestimate a big system implementation. The thoroughness and user acceptance that you need to do really needs to be proper, and you need to ensure that everything is working 100% before you even go ahead. And there's many firms that we've heard of that have had disasters. And in fact, some ERP system had bankrupted some firms, and we could have been in that position did we not have a parent who could bail us out by loaning us some funds over the short term. So yeah, so that would probably be one of the hardest challenges that we faced. It took us 6 months, and when I say we literally worked from morning till midnight and weekends for 6 months non-stop to try and fix that issue. So that was one of the bigger challenges that I faced in my career. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Brett. It's very tough to go back and you talk about a very sticky situation, but it just goes to show just the dedication and the teamwork that we had, and prioritization, which is still a very key point that we still do. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'd want to go to Rory and just ask, what is it about finance at Unilever? What is the big value proposition for the graduates that are currently listening on the call? And why would this be a place where it would be best for their careers to thrive and for them to unleash their potential?
Yeah, thank you, Namhla. I'm going to really sum it up, in two ways. One is that Unilever Finance really offers diversity of experiences. And secondly, it offers depth. If I think about some of the experiences that I got as a young intern or trainee, some of the opportunities I got, I didn't quite think I could deliver on them, right? But you are given those opportunities in Unilever and you are supported. I always say Unilever, and especially in finance, sets people up for success. I'll give you a flavor of some of the streams that we have in finance. We've got an area of focus that we call stewardship. And stewardship really talks about governance, and it talks about, statutory reporting. So we've got within the stewardship pillar, we've got, your internal audit stream. We've got a stream that we call controllers, which makes sure that, we are delivering on our governance priorities and imperatives to the group. Obviously, we are a globally held business. And then it also includes things like financial reporting, which ensures that, we are aligned to IFRS and all other statutory elements that we need to abide by. The second pillar is one of performance management. And we really call it performance management because in that area of the business is the area that we manage our P&L, we create value, we make sure that we get to deliver on the promise that all of our brands make. So within business, within performance management, you have functions such as mine, which is customer development. You've got what we call finance excellence team, which is around really business partnering with cross-functional teams. So we are the teams that business partner with your marketing teams. We business partner with HR. We business partner with category teams as well as customer development teams. We also have, within performance management, sort of your INA, which is really our, let's call it our analytics hub. And then lastly, one thing that I think does set us apart, Namhla, I don't see this in a lot of finance functions in the industry, is we've got another pillar which is focused on disruption. One of the things that probably keeps us as a leadership team awake at night is how we remain relevant and how we will future fit ourselves as a business and make sure that our talent within finance and in the business is future fit. Because what one has to think about when you're planning your career is not only about now, but it's about how you're going to be relevant for the next 10, 15 years. And so we've got a disruption pillar as well. In fact, this is something quite new in finance, where we've actually brought in a disruption team. We've recently appointed a manager, in fact, to look after our agenda around disruption, around automation, simplification. We're interested in, how do we use analytics? We're interested in how do we deploy bots? We're interested in, how do we take your typical routine tasks and how do we unlock them so that they're simpler, they're faster for teams to operate? Because if you do that, then you're unlocking space to drive value, you're unlocking well-being as well for teams. So in a nutshell, I think that is what sets Unilever Finance apart: stewardship, performance management, as well as disruption.
Thank you so much, and even for going into that detail of the 3 different pillars in which we have awesome roles in. And it's so good to see that at every time we really are trying to say, how can we be innovative and above the curve in your disruptive pillar that we've been able to implement quickly and already are starting to put resources in place to make us sure that we are definitely a step ahead. Brett, in your view, what is unique about Unilever Finance?
Thanks for that question. So I think, if you don't mind, I think it's more about what's unique about Unilever. And obviously, being in finance, we work and partner with the business. So what's unique to Unilever is also maybe, hopefully, unique to finance. And I think one thing it is that our purpose, and that is to make sustainable living commonplace. So we, a company that wants to do more good for our planet and our society, not just less harm. So we not just want to reduce that. We actually want to contribute positively to this. And actually, if you think about the journey, so our first brand was Sunlight Soap. It was 120 years ago that was the first branded soap, and that basically made soap affordable for the common people that didn't have the opportunity to buy any quality soaps or anything like that in the UK, and that was the first soap that actually gave people that opportunity. So that's the sort of the foundation of our purpose, and that purpose kind of comes through everything we do. And each brand that we have, so you would have heard the 400 brands that we talked about. Each brand has a unique purpose and proposition, and that basically means there's sort of 3 areas that we look at. One is improving the health of the planet, and within that we look at climate action, protecting and regenerating nature, and being a waste-free world. And I'll just use Hellmann's as an example in that space. So Hellmann's, we're looking at how do we, use more food, not waste so much food, use it in leftovers through recipes, through giving ideas, etc., to different consumers on how to use that. We talk about improving people's health, confidence, and well-being. As Zanele talked about Dove earlier. So that's one of the brands that we do that. And within that, we look at positive nutrition. So, for example, that would be making sure our ice cream doesn't have too much sugar in it. making sure our soup doesn't have too much salt in it, etc. And then we also like to trying to contribute to a more fair and more sociably inclusive world. And one of our brands that sort of maybe provokes quite hard is Ben and Jerry's. So we actually they really push the envelope on making sure that we're more inclusive, that there's more diversity, etc. in the planet, and that we support that. That comes through the work we do every day. So it's quite unique in that we first started this. We were one of the first corporates to really launch purpose as to help us in terms of improving the future of this planet. So that was done more than 10 years ago, and we were one of the first corporates that did that. And only now other corporates are really cottoning onto this, that actually by being sustainable, you can actually be more profitable in the long run. Because if we obviously destroy this planet while we're doing this, there's going to be no consumers left for us. So we really understand that, and this really comes through everything that we do in our day-to-day work. Okay.
Thank you so much, Brett. I couldn't have answered that a lot any better. So thank you so much for sharing that. I am conscious of time, and I see some of the questions in the chat might be answered by my next two questions, which are to Zanele, that talks about, we keep on talking about our nice graduate program. It's our accelerated Unilever program. It's a 2 to 4 year program in which we really, really want to take the brightest of talents and make them rotate in Unilever in different roles to get them truly, truly business ready to be a leader. So understanding a lot of business acumen, understanding a lot about the critical skills, specifically a lot of the skills that Rory Sam would have spoken about in the 3 buckets that you need to move through. So one of the questions that I have for you is, for students that are on this call, what are the qualifications that we are looking for in Unilever Finance? What type of degrees or qualifications would we want our graduate intakes to have?
Thanks, Namhla, for the opportunity. We're basically looking for a graduate with a BCom degree in accounting or a BTech in accounting. That's the opportunities that we have, or that's the qualification that we look for. And yeah.
Awesome. I know that we are, to Rory Sang's point, a lot also diversifying and wanting to become a lot more disruptive. Over and above the finance one, are there any particular things like SEMA, which we touched on? Would they need to just tell us a little bit more about SEMA? So is that something that we give the opportunity to them once they are in the program? Or are we looking for someone that's already probably knows that they're going to register, etc.? Just please tell us a little bit more about the SEMA qualification in UFLP.
Okay, once you have come to the through the UFLP program, we have an opportunity to for you to register as a SEMA student or a SEMA candidate, and yeah, we do also finance that or sponsor that for our UFLPs to be part of that program.
Awesome.
So
and then my last question.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Zanele. Please don't go off the mic. My last question for you is, should a graduate be successful and make it onto our Unilever Future Leaders program, and obviously even the feeder of ULIP, which I'll talk a little bit about, what would the typical roles be for them now? I know times have changed. We've heard what Rory and Brett started in, but what would be the typical roles that they would join in?
Okay, since we understand that these graduates, they don't have work experience, so we have a roadmap that we've identified. So when you come through these programs, with either ULIP or a UFLP, there are roles that we've identified, one of them being an internal audit role, or you can go through a CD finance as well. So those are the roles that you we've identified as your first role if you are a graduate. Then obviously during your second year, then we identified another roles as well that you could move into. Yeah.
Awesome. I like the fact that we've got a whole roadmap, and there will be awesome line managers that will be helping graduates really maximize their experience. We really focus on having a business impact, making sure that we're developing leaders. So we want to see your leadership impact as you go through roles, and also the sustainability impact. Because purpose is a big part of what we do, and to what Brett said. And then what else?
Do you mind if I just build on that?
Sorry,
so maybe I just want to build quickly on two of the comments that Nelly made. So obviously we sponsor the SEMA program. One of the things we do sponsor, and we do expect students to complete that. It is a prerequisite for you to become a manager here, is that we want an additional qualification, which is either a CA, and we do bring in CAs often when they finish their articles at other firms through a different route, or and then we also bring people in, expect them to study and pass SEMA, because we do want the students to be professionally qualified with an internationally recognized qualification. So that's very important for us. So we encourage that strongly. We do provide time off to students to do that. And then just in terms of that question about when students come in, so just to give it some flavor, and I might have jumped the gun on the question, so sorry if I have done that. But basically, we're looking to rotate you through a number of different roles so that you get very broad-based experience in your 3 years. The students who do join under the UFLP, we have a high expectation that they will be able to really master roles quicker than the average person. So we rotate quite quickly through. So a normal stint would be about 2 years in a role minimum, but we kind of push that envelope a little bit, and it's kind of 1 year. So you get really accelerated experience and accelerated development, rotating through potentially two to three roles in your first 3 years at Unilever to really broaden your experience. So thanks. Just wanted to put some builds on that.
Thank you so much, Brett. Really appreciate those builds. It gives a lot more insight. I think we are done with questions. I'm also mindful of time. So I will put it back to Laura for us to engage in some of the questions on the chat.
Hello, I'm back. Thank you for that. I think that was super informative. I've been monitoring the chat. I have to say one of the top benefits that I can see is the ice cream hour between 2 and 3. Or is it 1 and 2? You know how to attract the grads. Also, there's a few comments about discussing the challenges. And Brett, thank you for discussing the challenges. It's awesome to know that even like the top companies experience challenges, and you have to come together to work it out. And I think that inspires everybody out there who may be going through their own unique challenges. It happens to everybody, guys. I think one of the interesting questions which you touched on, Brett, Aisha wants to know, why is finance at Unilever better than finance in a finance company? I know you touched on purpose and proposition and really the what you do behind the brands. I don't know if you want to answer that question a little further.
Yeah, that's, I'm not on mute. No, okay. That's an interesting question. So you'd say versus the finance professional. So I guess you're talking about sort of the chartered accounting firms or potentially banks, maybe. I'm not sure if that's what you mean by that, but yeah. Right. So I think it really depends what you want. If you're someone who is a finance professional, wants to remain in sort of core accounting work, and you want to sort of go through that audit firm route. I know they obviously have their consultancy route on the side, but if you really enjoy the auditing part of business and that, then obviously that would be a road to go. I think what we give is very broad-based business experience. So we are in the fast-moving consumer goods industry, so you can get exposure to many different areas of the business, of our business, which you potentially might not get exposed to in an audit firm. There's also many international opportunities within Unilever that you can take up. So I think, and not only that, if you can use finance to launch yourself into other parts of business, so potentially going into marketing, general management, you can go into sales. In fact, the vice president of sales for East Africa is a SEMA graduate who went through the finance route. So there's plenty of more opportunities. I don't think one is better or not better. I mean, you have I wouldn't say it's a competition. It just depends what you really want from your career.
Thank you, Brett. I think you actually just picked up on a question that I've got here that was actually addressed to Zanele. So they want to know, can employees move horizontally across the business, and do you support them when this arises? I mean, is this an option for their career development?
Definitely, we have good career roadmap, and we have a lot of rigor when it comes to career development. Yeah, we do have people moving across from, for example, in my case as well, I came from supply chain, but within finance as well, we allow individuals to go to procurement if they may be passionate about procurement, or even go into CD itself or customer development.
Perfect. Thank you for that. One of the questions that came up earlier on, I don't know, maybe who wants to answer this, but is there any specific qualities that you look for in a grad, as opposed to just qualifications? Is there a certain kind of person and quality that you look for? If anybody wants to jump up, otherwise I'm going to pick on Rosang because it's your turn.
Sure, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, quite like that question, Laura, because one of the things that I think it's quite important for young people in the job market to understand, and at an early stage of their careers, is that the market is incredibly competitive. You know, there are a lot of people who apply to us. Zanele, maybe you could just pop it into the chat. I don't know if you have a figure in mind as to how many applications we got for the UFLP program that we've just recruited for. So there is quite a big pipeline. And so one of the things, or a couple of the characteristics I can mention, Laura, one is agility. Agility is something that you know, it's quite a big focus in our business at the moment as well. You remember I would have talked about future fitting yourself. I would have talked about disruption, etc. And agility, you know, relates to how quickly one is able to pivot, how quickly one is able to, you know, deal with complexity, undefined problems. You know, I saw in the chat also, Laura, there was a question about what a typical day looks like. I can assure you now, one day looks extremely different from the other. And somebody who is agile is going to be able to be, if I could use a loose term, be quick on their feet. Be able to, you know, apply your mind to various different scenarios. In my life, as an example, in my role, you know, I'm faced with different problems every single day, whether it is about stock shortages, or if it's about cash flow management, profitability, as an example. And so agility is one such characteristic. Problem solving, together with you know, somebody who's a self-starter. You know, we do actually see, you know, the people who thrive are the people who are able to not only solve problems, you know, come up with different strategies and new thinking to solving problems, but people who are also able to be self-starters. And what I mean by that is, you know, the people who are not sitting in the corner and waiting to be told what to do, but the people who take initiative, the people who, you know, kind of always ask themselves, what am I going to do today to not only make the business better, but to make myself better as well? Just to mention a few I think that's critical. Sorry, were you going to jump in, Brett?
If you don't mind, yeah. And we actually have something called the standards of leadership. Rory touched on a few. One would be talent catalyst, and I think the last one we actually define as passion for high performance. So we actually have 6. I don't know if you can kind of see it here. I don't know if that comes through, but we actually use these, and we can hold ourselves accountable to these different standards of leadership. I'll just read through them. So it's purpose and service, personal mastery, which is always about bringing your best self, agility, as mentioned before, a talent catalyst, that means working well with teams, consumer love, especially for the brands that we have, business acumen, very important, because obviously as a finance person, you need to bring an understanding of the P&L, etc. And then, as we talked about, passion for high performance.
Amazing. I think that's come across very clearly. I was going to just respond to you, Rosang, when you were talking about being a self-starter. It reminds me of a grad program I heard of once, where one of the students went to the CEO directly and said they were bored, at which point the CEO said, what are you doing to unboard yourself? So I think that says it all. We are 3 minutes away. I'm going to come to you all and ask you just for one final comment, I think. Should we start with you, Zanele?
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Laura, for the opportunity, and to the graduates for joining this call. And we look forward to your applications as well, and being part of the Unilever family one day.
Thank you. Rosa?
Thank you so much, Laura. I think, I was having a conversation yesterday with our finance VP, and we were talking about, how intentional we are being as a finance leadership team in every decision that we make, whether it is about changing structure, or whether it is about driving diversity and inclusion, or if it is about how we develop our people, whether we are developing them enough, whether we're developing them in the right areas. So just wanting to really just leave that note of saying, Unilever is intentional about creating value, as I said, not only for the business, but value in our employees as well. And so I also look forward to, getting young, fresh talent into the organization. It keeps us on our toes and is really the future of this country, this world, this economy. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And Brett, over to you before I pass over to Namka to close the event, I think.
Yeah, just want to thank all the students for joining us on a Friday afternoon. I really appreciate you guys taking your time out. Thanks to the organizers for getting this up. And maybe just a word of encouragement. I see a lot of people in the chat all look like they're kind of, looking for roles, looking for jobs, trying to find opportunities. I think, just, be patient. Give it your best. We hope to see you in Unilever. That'll be great to have some of the people from Gradstar that come through and join us. We look forward to getting those applications and hopefully seeing you in the interview process. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I found the session incredible. I think I want to come and work at Unilever. So thank you, Rosa. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Zanele. Thank you to all the students. Don't forget that we have put the links in the chat, the Instagram links, and how you can find out more. Don't forget to download the Gradstar app. Don't forget to register on Level Up. And Namka, over to you. Are you there, Namka? It's okay. I can say goodbye. All right. Well, everybody, thank you very much. As I said, please register on the Level Up platform. It's absolutely critical. It's there to help you. And that's what we're all here today to promote and talk about, as well as, of course, your own career. Look at this. It's just the slide I needed. Tanya, can you put the slide back up? Thank you. Here we go. Register on Level Up. Download the Gradstar app to enter the Gradstar Awards, because that is, of course, how you get noticed. And don't forget the ULIP, the Unilever Leadership Internship Program, is still open. I believe it's open until the 25th of May. So you haven't got long. Apply, follow these steps, apply now, and that is how you get noticed. So thank you again once more, everybody. As I mentioned, we will be sharing the attendee list and the chats with Unilever. So I'm sure they will get back to you on the individual questions as soon as they can. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, Zane. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
I'd love to come